Yuki Tsunoda has opened up about the future beyond Red Bull, and it's now more than evident that the Japanese driver is going to look to land a seat someplace else. With some very interesting teams offering a seat beyond 2026, could we see another massive shake-up on the grid? And more importantly, will Yuki prove Red Bull wrong in terms of not picking him up as the teammate of Verstappen? One of the most controversial stories in the world of Formula 1 is Yuki Tsunoda, and it's not even something that he or any of us could do anything about. Red Bull have chosen a driver with 11 race experience in Formula 1, one who was beaten 6 times out of 6 races by Tsunoda in qualifying to replace Perez in Red Bull. The goal when Lawson was promoted to Racing Bulls from Austin last year was clear: see who has the better results to get the seat of Perez, and while that wasn't Lawson at the end of the day, he got the promotion rather than Tsunoda. This is why there is almost no doubt that the Japanese driver is going to look for a seat elsewhere, and the most logical one is Aston Martin. The Silverstone-based squad has some assets that are helping Tsunoda's case, such as the arrival of Honda from 2026 onwards, as well as Adrian Newey. Yes, Newey would prefer to work with Verstappen, but the Dutchman might not be available for a move, and that is, of course, a topic and a story of itself that we would discuss in another opportunity, which is why the team would have to satisfy themselves with the next best agent on the grid. While Tsunoda might not be that driver, given the fact that a lot will change in the upcoming years and a lot of rookies will show their true potential, the Japanese driver is definitely one of the youngest and yet experienced drivers on the grid who have shown promising results in 2024. He's beaten both De Vries and Ricciardo when it was expected to be the other way around, and the fact that he brought valuable points to Racing Bulls in 2024 and kept them out of the last seat in the constructors' standings goes to show that there is much more he could prove if he's given the right machinery. But on the other hand, if you're to listen to what Horner had to say regarding Tsunoda's chances of remaining in Red Bull's camp, you could easily see why the Japanese driver would be more than motivated to look for a seat elsewhere. Elaborating on the current situation of Yuki in Racing Bulls, Horner said, "Honda is an important partner for us, but we are customers of Honda, but they have always refused to get involved in the driver lineups. They've always left that choice down to the team. We are acutely aware that if we are not able to provide an opportunity for Yuki, in all honesty, this year, does it make sense? You can't have a driver in the support team for 5 years. You know, you can't always be the bridesmaid. You've either got to let them go at that point or look at something different." With drivers like Arvin Lindblad being rumoured to have a go at Red Bull, or more precisely Racing Bulls, from 2026 onwards, it's not what Yuki wants to hear when it comes to his future in the Austrian team's nest. This is why Yuki knows his worth, and this is why he understands that the options beyond Red Bull are much bigger than we could possibly think. When talking about it, he went on to say, "Maybe our team will change its name again next year, so I will be racing for a different team. Let's see. It depends on my performance. Obviously, I would like to stay in this Red Bull family. If it's Red Bull Racing, that is amazing. If not, then I'd still love to be in this part of the team, VCARB. I've already been in this team for 5 years, and I feel connected to the people here, which is very important as a driver to develop myself and focus on what I want to do. I feel a lot of support from them, which means a lot for me. However, there can be interesting options elsewhere." And this is precisely what we're trying to explain in this video. Tsunoda's goal is either being promoted to the Red Bull seat, which could happen if Lawson's debut goes really badly wrong, or he could be looking for a seat elsewhere, which right now looks like the most realistic one is Aston Martin. Both of the drivers in the Silverstone-based squad are kind of questionable, especially Alonso, who hinted at his retirement at the end of 2026. But while you would normally think that it would be logical for Aston Martin to look for a replacement for Alonso, it's not that far-fetched of a scenario if you think about Lance Stroll as well. The Canadian driver is not really enjoying the sport to the level an F1 driver should, given the fact that he's driving in one of the most elite competitions possible, where a driver would kill to get a chance to prove themselves. Any other drivers would have already been doing something else in their careers if their fathers didn't own the team, but it does look like Lance is not really motivated to drive and looks very unhappy whenever he is out doubt there. He is giving the feeling like he is being forced to drive, or he's doing it because of the massive investment that his father made in the factories and the personnel, and there is only so much you can do to hide the displeasure with doing a career in a sport you don't really want to do. Stroll has been totally outperformed by Alonso in 2024, 70-24, and he's managed to beat him in qualifying only 5 times out of 24 tries. There is no doubt that Aston Martin is undergoing a lot of changes now, and with the arrival of Honda and Newey as their technical partners, the situation is going to evolve in a direction that Lawrence might not like to hear or talk about. There have been reports about Newey already having conversations behind closed doors when it comes to the availability of Lance Stroll, or more precisely how the team allocate him to a different championship in order to utilise the absolute everything out of the car with 2 very good performing drivers. Again, the primary target is going to be Max Verstappen, and given the fact that Alonso is retiring soon, we can't rule out a complete Red Bull reunion in Aston Martin, with both Verstappen and Tsunoda being signed beyond 2026. But nevertheless, the situation doesn't look great for Lance, because at this point in his career, you can't do much to impress others to show interest in you, and that is precisely what could cost his career. Gunther Steiner has talked about this situation, and the former team principal of Haas believes that Lance is being forced to drive in Formula 1 because of his father's ambitions. He said, "He never looks happy. He never seems to be happy, whatever happens." Would he be a world champion if he was happy? I don't know about that one. Some people can be good even when they are unhappy. However, that might be just his expression. A lot of people critique him, saying that he is such a bad driver. He is just there because Daddy has the team. But to put it this way, if Daddy didn't have the team, I don't think Lance would be a Formula 1 driver, because he doesn't want to be one. A thing that would definitely put more pressure on Lawrence to get rid of Lance and bring a driver like Tsunoda is the performance of Aston Martin from 2026 onwards. Although Honda has shared their fears regarding the engine deficit compared to the rest of the grid, at the end of the day, they are not rookies in this department, and they will most likely sort it out before the new regulations begin. If Aston Martin starts the performance on a very high note and delivers extraordinary results from day one, then you could say that both Honda and Newey would have to have serious conversations with Lawrence as to who gets to drive in the second seat next to Alonso, or let's say Verstappen if the team manages to convince him to join their project. Be that as it may, the other option for Tsunoda is to stay in Racing Bulls and hope that something will go wrong with Lawson's debut, so he could capitalise on that and maybe even take over the leader's position in the team in case Verstappen does decide to join Aston Martin. When talking about it, Horner has boosted the chances of the Japanese driver to give one step ahead and make a compelling case for himself to replace Lawson, although truth be told, it's going to be very hard given the fact that they've weighed them in the same machinery and the coin has favoured the Kiwi driver. Elaborating more on this though, Horner said, "Yuki obviously is in the Red Bull driver pool. Our priorities are our race drivers, but Yuki is a very talented driver and we'll be keeping a close eye on him and Hadjar as well." With all this in mind, do you think that Tsunoda will be able to withhold the pressure of the upcoming drivers in Red Bull, such as Hadjar or Lindblad, and keep his seat in the Red Bull camp? Or will he be forced to go out and look in the other teams' nests, such as Aston Martin? Let us know in the comments below, and if you're interested in Hamilton's comments about the SF25, make sure to check out the video that appears on your screen right now.